Thank you. Uh, let's talk a little bit. Let's talk a little bit about performance. When in all this gigging that you did early on, did you start to enjoy or excel in the craft of entertaining a crowd, as beyond just being the artist as a songwriter? When did you learn how to work a crowd?
That kind of came in through the back door. I mean, with the Velvets, we ran into a lot of opposition, so it was kind of them and us. That, I mean, there's them and here's us as war, constant war. Strange.
Maybe that's why people think of you as sort of the godfather of punk. Do you accept that title or run from it?
I don't have choices in these things. There's a couple of better reasons to call me that, but I don't even... When I got out on my own and then Rock Roll Animal went down, and I had, Bob had gotten me, what's his name's band?
Alice Cooper.
Alice Cooper, Vinny. They were a great band, but I couldn't play with them. I couldn't play the way those guys played, which was great for them, but I could play with Velvet Underground. I could play with, a more idiosyncratic thing, but this kind of unit I couldn't. So I had a guitar then, and I said, I can't play with them. So that's when I had to relate to the audience. Because I wasn't playing with a band, I was singing with the band.
One quick question about one of your guardian angels in your career, Andy Warhol. There's a song on another one of my favorite records of yours, Songs for Drella, called Work. Can you talk a little bit about what Andy Warhol taught you as an artist?
I miss Andy very much. He was so incredibly talented and brilliant, and being around him, we could both be looking at the same thing, and what he saw and what he thought and what he thought you could do with it was such a great experience for me to experience what it's like to be around a genius looking at something and other ways of looking at something. As I was saying in Songs for Drella, he was always saying how lazy I was, which I, in retrospect, really thank him for, although at the time, it was not exactly what I wanted to hear from him. Like, something like, gee, that was really great, Lou, would have been nice. As opposed to, well, how many songs did you write? I said, 5. That's not half bad. But not for him, he'd say, well, then you're so lazy. Why don't you write 10? What's wrong with you? And I never forgot that.
He was, I guess, credited as a producer on some of the Velvet Underground, or at least the first one.
Yeah.
In what sense was he a producer? How did he contribute?
He was a producer because he was there, and because he was there, they didn't change anything.
The best kind of producer.
If he hadn't been there, they'd have been all over the place trying to clean it up or do this or do that. And before we went in, Andy had pulled me aside. He said, whatever you do, keep the objectionable words in there. Don't let them clean this up. Don't let them smooth it out. Whatever you do, keep it the way it is. Don't let them change it. And he was there to make sure that didn't happen.
When he died and you responded with Songs for Drella, what was it like for you on a, personal and artistic level to sit with John Cale and try to, put something together that was a fitting response, to his
Well, Andy had received so much people making fun of him in every way, personally, his paintings, his movies. And when he died, I remember the newspaper saying, oh, it's a put on, maybe it's really put on, this and that. So when John and I got together, what we wanted to do, because we loved Andy and admired him so much, was do something positive to let people hear a positive recitation and eulogy to Andy from people who actually knew him as opposed to these other people who didn't and couldn't come up to his ankle.
You use the word positive, and I sort of flashed to a song of yours which has positive in the title. Can you remember which one I would be thinking of?
The Power of Positive Drinking.
Exactly.
Sure.
A great title. Andy gave you a title for another song, and I think he gave you maybe the whole first line. Can you remember which one?
Apropos, I can't remember apropos of what it was apropos of. He said, "Why don't you write a song called Vicious?" I said, great. I mean, because I love being given an assignment. And the more specific, the better, because then I don't have to come up with something. It's just, oh, write a song about a chair. I can do that. Or write a song about a car. Well, I could do that. And he said, well, write a song about Vicious. I said, well, what kind? And he said, you know, vicious, I hit you with a flower. So I wrote it down, and that was that. Because he gave it to me, and all I had to do was finish it. But I mean, that was easy. The hard part, that's why Andy is a genius. The hard part was the first part, that first sentence. After that, anybody could finish it.
The working with John Cale on that, I don't know if it helped set the stage, but eventually there was what very few expected there would be, a Velvet Underground reunion. What was that like for you musically and personally to, you know, because it would been quite a break between meetings. What was that like for you?
There was nothing like playing with the Velvet Underground, and there never will be because of the personalities involved and the instrumentation. And I still think Maureen Tucker is one of the world's great drummers, and I wish she would be recognized for it. Her way of playing drums standing up. I mean, not a lot of, but some people do it these days, but Maureen did it and still does it and is an extraordinarily talented drummer. And everybody in the Velvet Underground I loved, because one of the reasons I'm so glad I did it is because Sterling died afterwards.